And after 24 rounds, Lando Norris is the Formula One World Champion. Norris wins the title in 2025.
The 2025 Formula One season ended with a heart-stopping photo finish. Lando Norris clinging to a 2-point lead over the relentless Max Verstappen to snatch the world title. It was so intense the drama actually spilled out of the paddock and onto the tennis courts. World number 1 Novak Djokovic and his biggest rival Carlos Alcaraz were apparently watching, and they certainly had things to say about the winner and the loser. Their pronouncements on the F1 rivalry tell you everything about the kind of champions they are. Is it more important for a legendary champion to praise the winner or to console the one who lost everything? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. The 2025 Formula One season was absolutely frantic. It went down to the very last race in Abu Dhabi, a nail-biting strategic showdown that saw 3 drivers still mathematically in the running, a sight rarer than a clean baseline winner from a serve and volley player. In the end, the title fight boiled down to 2 young guns, Max Verstappen of Red Bull and Lando Norris of McLaren. Norris entered the final race with a slim, almost laughably small, 12-point advantage over the Dutchman, and by the time the dust settled, the margin was a ridiculously close 2 points. Norris clinched his maiden world championship, ending Verstappen's 4-year reign of terror. Now, why do we care about a close F1 finish? Because the drama was so thick, it penetrated the highly insulated world of elite tennis, forcing its 2 biggest stars, Novak Djokovic and Carlos Alcaraz, to pause their perpetually exhausting rivalry just long enough to weigh in on someone else's championship misery. Their reactions, brief as they were on Instagram, were a perfect study in contrasts, revealing more about their own competitive philosophies than they probably intended.
Winning your first title is something that I think we all dreamt of, when you get into the sport. You work for that, since you're a little kid. It's what you dream of. So when you win your first title, this is very emotional. And yeah, I hope for Lando as well. I saw a lot of his family is here, so it's important to enjoy this a lot as well tonight. Also with his team, I think, again, that's another story where it showed that even when you have tough years, when you keep working hard, you keep, adding good people to the team, you can overcome all of those things and you can become very successful again. And they had an incredible season together, so it's important that they enjoy it.
Let's start with the dethroned king. The man who was so close to another F1 title, he could practically smell the champagne. Max Verstappen. Verstappen, who had been 104 points behind the championship leader earlier in the year, won the final race in Abu Dhabi, his 8th victory of the 2025 season. He drove a perfect race, securing the maximum points possible, yet still fell short by 2 points. The heartbreak was epic, the kind of crushing near miss that only true, relentless champions understand.
No, I don't even see it like losing, to be honest. He has had a very good season. I think in general it's been a tough battle between himself and Oscar, and at one point I got into the fight. But I think winning your first is always super emotional. It's very special because honestly I think everyone on the grid here is always dreaming about that, that moment. So I hope he really enjoys it tonight with his family and of course the team.
And who better to understand that sting than Novak Djokovic, the world number 1 tennis player, a man who has accumulated a record-setting number of major titles and spent over 400 weeks atop the world rankings, is no stranger to the soul-crushing agony of falling short. Even in 2025, Djokovic had his own remarkably close yet ultimately frustrating campaign, reaching the semi-finals of all 4 Grand Slams, an unprecedented feat for a 38-year-old, but missing out on his record 25th major title. He knows what it's like to be a dominant machine that just barely misfires at the final hurdle. So, Djokovic's reaction was measured, reflective, and deeply resonant with the pain of an elite competitor. He chose not to just celebrate the winner. He took a moment to acknowledge the defeated champion. He posted a message about Verstappen, writing, "What an amazing finish Max had. Very close to clinch it all again. Champion mentality." This wasn't a quick shout-out. This was a heartfelt tip of the hat from one champion to another, recognizing the sheer determination required to claw back from a 104-point deficit only to lose by 2. Djokovic's praise for Verstappen, the champion mentality, reveals the Serbian's own fierce, never-say-die competitive spirit. It shows that for Djokovic, true greatness is defined not just by the win, but by the relentless, all-consuming fight itself. Djokovic relates to the grit, the fire, the single-minded focus that makes Verstappen a force of nature, regardless of whether he wins or loses a particular title. The emphasis is on the legacy and the champion mentality, two things Djokovic values above all else in his own career. Now, let's pivot to the celebration of the new title winner, Lando Norris. Norris, at 26, clinched the title, becoming the first British driver to do so since Lewis Hamilton in 2020, ending McLaren's title drought. The pressure on him was immense. He had to navigate a tricky start where his teammate Oscar Piastri, who was also still mathematically in contention, jumped him, and he had to fight off an aggressive charge from Ferrari's Charles Leclerc on fresher tires. Norris needed a top 3 finish to secure the title, and he delivered with a highly controlled, high-pressure drive, crossing the line in 3rd place just 16.5 seconds behind the winner, Verstappen. Djokovic did, of course, congratulate Norris. "Congratulations, Lando. What a season. You are a world champion," he wrote on Instagram. It was perfectly polite and mandatory for a sports figure of his stature. But it was the acknowledgement of Verstappen's amazing finish and champion mentality that really gave Djokovic's reaction depth. The subtle subtext is clear. Winning is great, but the ferocious, dominant mindset of the perennial threat is what truly commands respect from a titan like Djokovic. He's telling Norris, enjoy the win, but don't forget the machine you just barely beat. Then we have Carlos Alcaraz, the young Spanish star who has defined the modern tennis rivalry with Djokovic, offered a response that was the competitive equivalent of a shrug emoji. Alcaraz, known for his straight-to-the-point, exuberant energy both on and off the court, kept his social media message brief, concise, and utterly lacking in philosophical depth. He simply shared on his Instagram story, "Many congrats." That's it. Many congrats. No mention of Verstappen's heroic comeback. No deep reflection on the nature of championship pressure. Just a simple, clean, congratulatory message aimed solely at the winner. This single phrase perfectly encapsulates Alcaraz's competitive worldview. The result is the only thing that matters. The winner gets the prize and the loser is immediately irrelevant to the narrative. Alcaraz is all about the W, the instant success, the fresh energy, and the clean slate. He is the young challenger who focuses only on the next step up the ladder, not on the philosophical struggle of the champion he's trying to depose. His brevity speaks volumes. It's a modern, unburdened approach to elite competition. Where Djokovic sees legacy and the ongoing mental war, Alcaraz sees a new champion who successfully secured the victory. End of story. The lack of reference to Verstappen is a subtle dismissal of the defeated. In Alcaraz's mind, if you didn't win, you don't get the headline. The contrast here is beautiful and perfectly mirrors their tennis rivalry. Djokovic, the veteran, the man obsessed with history and records, respects the process and the tenacity, Verstappen. Alcaraz, the younger, explosive star, respects the result and the instant glory, Norris. It's the old guard focusing on the struggle versus the new guard focusing on the achievement. It's also worth noting that the F1 race brought out another key tennis rival, Jannik Sinner. Sinner, who had a phenomenal 2025 tennis season, was actually in Abu Dhabi watching the finale live, rubbing elbows with F1 superstars like two-time world champion Fernando Alonso and team principal Flavio Briatore at a glamorous Dubai dinner show. Sinner, who secured his second straight major title and finished the season at world number 2, also offered a heartfelt message to Norris. What a day incredible to watch! Huge congrats at Lando on your first F1 World Championship. Sinner's reaction, perhaps influenced by actually being there and feeling the palpable energy, was slightly more expressive than Alcaraz's, noting how incredible the day was. This places Sinner somewhere in the middle. He acknowledges the spectacle and the achievement, showing a slightly deeper appreciation for the event than Alcaraz's blunt two words. The fact that the entire top three of the ATP rankings, Djokovic, world number 1, Sinner, world number 2, and Alcaraz, world number 3, all publicly weighed in on the F1 title fight, shows just how universally compelling this Norris versus Verstappen rivalry became. The championship battle itself was a masterpiece of tension that justified all the celebrity attention. Norris started on the front row next to Verstappen, knowing that falling to P4 or lower would hand the title to the Dutchman. He lost a spot to his teammate Piastri on the first lap, but managed to claw back and hold on to that all-important third place. The strategic warfare included Red Bull using Yuki Tsunoda to play tough defense against Norris, effectively holding him up and backing him into the clutches of Leclerc, who had pitted earlier for new tires. Norris had to be aggressive and unflappable, resisting the defensive moves and dealing with the constant pressure to maintain a podium finish. This was a true test of championship composure, exactly the kind of situation Djokovic has famously mastered in tennis tiebreakers over the years. Verstappen, meanwhile, had been forced to recover from a massive point deficit earlier in the year. The Red Bull car was not dominant in the same way it had been when he won his previous 4 titles, often being the second fastest car on the grid for large chunks of the season. His sheer driving talent and relentless focus brought him back into contention, scoring his 8th win in Abu Dhabi. He even claimed, with full honesty, that he had no regrets and that it was possibly the best he had driven in his career, despite the ultimate outcome. This is the champion mentality that Djokovic noticed. The ability to dominate even when the machinery isn't perfect. Alcaraz's one-line, many congrats, stands out in its simplicity. It's the competitive purity of a young gun who believes fully in meritocracy. The best driver on the day, over the season, won. No need for deeper reflection on the feelings of the defeated. Alcaraz is constantly moving forward, chasing the next major, the next #1 ranking, the next win over Djokovic or Sinner. He doesn't look back to console, he only looks forward to the next challenge. It's a ruthless, modern approach to dominance, one that Lando Norris, who was glad he won it my way by being a fair driver, rather than as aggressive as Max, can appreciate. Ultimately, the F1 title fight provided the perfect, unintentional parallel to the ongoing ATP rivalry. We saw a long-reigning, fierce champion, Verstappen Djokovic, who respects the fight and the enduring mental game, and a younger champion, Norris Alcaraz, who is focused on the clean, undeniable result of achieving the crown. Their brief social media posts were more than just celebrity shoutouts. They were philosophical statements on what each elite athlete prioritizes when the finish line is crossed. And while they didn't hold back their opinions, the most telling aspect was whom each of them chose to give their most considered attention to: the victor, or the vanquished warrior. The F1 rivalry gave us a fascinating glimpse into the minds of Djokovic and Alcaraz. One prioritizes the relentless champion's fight, the other, the clean, undeniable win. Norris took the F1 crown by 2 points, and his win was validated by the 2 biggest names in tennis. Now we wait to see which philosophy, the legacy pursuit or the pure victory chase, will dominate the ATP Tour next season. If you loved seeing the tennis titans weigh in on the F1 drama, give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next time a sporting rivalry boils over.